The war has begun. It's been half a month since the last operation against Eclipsed Moon. In this time, headquarters has made comprehensive plans, just waiting for Eclipsed Moon to appear again. At this moment, the 4th Squadron of the Heavenly Dragon Pirates sailed into the Southeast Sea amid dense fog. The pirates on board were in high spirits, and at the bow, Huan was on the phone. The voice on the phone said, "River South Domain has been waiting for you, and they have more troops than last time." Huan looked back at his fleet and smiled. "Fortunately, I'm not short on manpower either." The voice on the phone came again. "If you want to win this time, you must eliminate the person who can break the prophecy first." Huan knew that if it weren't for that guy, their squad wouldn't have suffered such heavy casualties last time. To him, Zhang Yi now seemed even more troublesome than the veteran captains of River South Domain. The voice on the phone chuckled. "Don't worry, I'll help you deal with this trouble. You just need to do as I say." Then, the caller detailed the strategy. After listening, Huan's smile grew wider. "That's a great suggestion, really appreciate it. But I'm curious, why do you keep providing us with information? Who are you really? Why are you helping us? Could it be that you are also an enemy of River South Domain?" The person on the other end of the phone was none other than Gao Changkong, captain of the Reincarnation Squad. He laughed and said, "Who I am doesn't matter. As for the accuracy of the information, I think you can judge for yourself. All I can say is, we have a common interest in dealing with River South Domain." After saying this, the caller hung up. Huan laughed heartily after hearing this, catching the attention of the 4th Squadron captain, Canute. Curious, Canute asked, "Is there any progress in this operation?" Huan smiled and said, "I have good news for you. This time you guys are going to make a fortune. Now all you need to do is slightly adjust your course forward and help me eliminate a troublesome person. Then Heavenly Sea City will be yours." Canute's face showed a hint of displeasure. "Why should we deal with a troublesome person?" Huan quickly explained, "Don't worry, what's troublesome for us is no problem for you. Think about the rich resources of Heavenly Sea City. All of that will be yours once he's dealt with." Canute chuckled. "You better not be playing tricks. If I find out you're trying to scheme against me, you can forget about ever sailing the seas again in your lifetime." Huan spread his hands. "Relax. Now you just need to follow Mayumi's guidance, and you'll successfully land in Country Hua. Then, you can loot to your heart's content. No one will be able to stop you." Meanwhile, on the other side, Zhang Yi, who was resting, received a call from Wan Xinchen. "Captain Zhang, the enemy is on the move. Please lead your team to the command center immediately. The battle starts tonight." Zhang Yi immediately got up and shouted, "Flower, go call Liang Yu and Yang Xinxin." 10 minutes later, the three of them and a cat walked out of the villa and headed towards the command center. In Blizzard City, red alerts were sounding everywhere. Inside the command center, Zhu Jing watched the alarms and exclaimed, "These despicable scum of Eclipsed Moon, using their prophetic abilities to evade the Navy's patrol and attacking 3 port cities at the same time." At that moment, 3 red dots appeared on the holographic image. Reincarnation King Gao Changkong, Zhurong Tu Yunlai, Chaos Zhang Yi. The 3 had already reached the battlefield. According to frontline reconnaissance, the 3 forces that suddenly appeared along the coast were basically identified. Zhu Jing controlled the image and began introducing these 3 forces. Based on feedback from drone surveillance footage, the enemies that appeared in Hua Continent City are from the surrounding waters of the Eastern Sea. This is a group of over 500 villains, based on Ropefly Island, engaged in both land and sea plundering activities, known as demonic Yakuza. A large number of Eclipsed Moon members have appeared in the waters near Coastal City, and it can be determined that Eclipsed Moon's main force is here. The force that appeared in the waters near Heavenly Sea City is the Heavenly Dragon Pirate Gang, which dominates the southern seas. It appears to be one of their fleets. Zhu Jing immediately began making battle plans. "Chaos, Heavenly Sea City is your territory, and you are familiar with the terrain there. I order you to lead the Heavenly Dog Squad to Heavenly Sea City to deal with the people from the Heavenly Dragon Pirate Gang first. Reincarnation King, the main force of Eclipsed Moon is in Coastal City. You lead the Reincarnation Squad to intercept them, mainly to delay and stabilize them. Wait for Zhang Yi to arrive and break the prophecy before striking. Zhu Rong, you lead 500 Swallow Cloud Guardians to Hua Continent." Upon hearing this, Lan Xinqing immediately objected. "General Zhu, if we deploy all 3 main forces, who will guard Blizzard City?" Zhu Jing stood up, speaking sternly. "Our biggest enemy right now is those external threats. We must finish this war outside our borders before they wreak havoc on our land. We absolutely cannot let them reach the Central Plains. We must achieve a perfect victory at all costs." Zhu Jing then ordered, "Move out immediately." Zhang Yi and the others saluted and responded loudly, "Received." Immediately after, Zhang Yi contacted Zhou Keir. "Keir, listen, there is going to be a major crisis in Heavenly Sea City. All of you, move to the basement immediately. No one goes out. Wait until I get back. But don't worry too much. The enemy won't be able to breach our shelter quickly. I'll be home in half an hour at most." At the same time, Zhang Yi called Chen Jingguan. After all, the enemy was coming from the sea, and Morning Dew Base's harbor would be the first to suffer. Once the call connected, Zhang Yi didn't waste words and quickly explained the situation. "How are the battle preparations I asked you to make?" Chen Jingguan immediately responded, "Everything is ready as you instructed, waiting for your command to act." After hanging up, Zhang Yi realized that only he, Tu Yunlai, and Gao Changkong were in the elevator. Tu Yunlai spoke. I'll quickly deal with those restless folks in Hua Continent City. Then I'll come to support you. If you encounter any dangers you can't handle, don't force it. Make sure to hide and wait for my support. Tu Yunlai, a high-ranking official in Blizzard City, also wanted to use this mission to make a significant contribution, securing more capital for his future. Gao Changkong then smiled and said, when necessary, I'll call you guys for support. I'm still counting on you to help me annihilate Eclipsed Moon. Don't forget, Eclipsed Moon is our primary target. Zhang Yi, of course, knew that without his ability to block foresight, dealing with Eclipsed Moon wouldn't be an easy task. When they reached the ground floor, the members of each team were fully prepared, just waiting for the captain's order to act. The great battle was about to begin. After the emergency combat meeting, the Heavenly Dog Squad quickly assembled. At this moment, everyone was already on the armored vehicles heading to the airport. Zhang Yi looked around at everyone and said solemnly, this time, we're heading to Heavenly Sea City first to eliminate the landing Heavenly Dragon pirates. Heavenly Sea City is my territory, and this battle is in our favor, so just bring out everything we've practiced during our regular training. Then, Zhang Yi turned to Flower and Liang Yu and specifically instructed, during the battle, stay close to Xinqin. It's her first time on the battlefield, and you must protect her. Next, Zhang Yi turned to Bailey Changqing and said, as for the tactical arrangements, I'll leave them to you, as you are much more professional in this area than I am. The Heavenly Dog Squad, Reincarnation Squad, and Swallow Cloud troops quickly divided their tasks clearly and headed straight for the airport, preparing to go to their respective battlefields. Meanwhile, in Heavenly Sea City, after the Heavenly Dragon pirates successfully landed, they immediately switched to snow vehicles and sped toward the center of Heavenly Sea City. Canute yelled wildly, plunder at will, kill all the living men, and take all the food and resources. However, the excited pirates found, after storming ashore and searching the vast Heavenly Sea City for a long time, that they couldn't even find a single person. They only found some large containers at the Morning Dew Base's harbor area, which did contain some supplies. Canute immediately contacted Eclipsed Moon to ask about the situation. Huan told him, this city once had a zombie crisis, and the population is now very sparse. Currently, only 4 forces control the resources, so if you take out these 4 forces, all the resources of Heavenly Sea City will be yours. Hearing this, Canute became even more excited. For forces that only hide, they must be easy to take down. He immediately ordered everyone, search. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, find where those forces are hiding. What they didn't know was that thousands of people from Morning Dew Base were currently hiding right beneath their feet. The Heavenly Dragon pirates continued their looting, and soon, Zhang Yi's tall and luxurious shelter caught their attention. They used various weapons outside to furiously bombard it, trying to breach the defenses, but they couldn't even chip the outer layer of the walls. Uncle Yu held a machine gun, his body wrapped with ammunition belts. Should any danger arise, he would be the first to stand in front and buy time for others to escape. Shokir calmly said, Zhang Yi said they can't possibly breach the shelter's defenses in a short time, and Zhang Yi will be here soon. Just then, a pirate mutant suddenly transformed into a 5-meter-tall giant and violently charged at the shelter's main gate. Shokir hurriedly dialed Zhang Yi's phone to report the situation. Meanwhile, an armed helicopter cut through the night sky, flying directly over Heavenly Sea City. Upon receiving Shokir's message, Zhang Yi furrowed his brow and immediately instructed the pilot have the helicopter land directly at the coordinates of the shelter. Zhang Yi's hunting moment was about to begin. At this time, the pirates who were still excitedly attacking the shelter were surprised to hear a dragon-like roar coming from above. Looking up, they saw a huge armed helicopter. Before they could react, boom, a loud noise rang out, and the head of the giant mutant exploded instantly, bursting open like a watermelon. It was Zhang Yi who had acted. Bailey Changqing was the first to move, leaping directly from the plane. The others followed right after him, jumping down as the helicopter descended. Yang Xinqin, riding Flower, encountered enemies as soon as she landed. She pointed with both hands. Desire Angel. 2 arrow-struck pirates suddenly turned on each other, their eyes red, fighting to the death. Seeing this scene, Zhang Yi felt much relieved. As long as Yang Xinqin was safe, these pirates posed no threat. At this time, Bailey Changqing was surrounded by hundreds of pirates who fired at him simultaneously. However, these bullets were nothing more than a tickle to a mutant. Bailey Changqing laughed. These pirates are too weak. But thinking about it, it made sense. Even though they were notorious criminals in the southern seas, they were basically small fry in front of our country's special forces. Thinking this, Bailey Changqing swung his spear and charged into the crowd, chopping them down like vegetables. This is too easy, he was just remarking. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared behind him, silently wielding a dagger. Die! But in the next second, with a bang, the figure's head was instantly pierced by a bullet. Bailey Changqing then realized that any enemy showing a level of special ability had been precisely targeted and eliminated by Zhang Yi. In less than a minute, the pirates were completely annihilated. Bailey Changqing deliberately left one alive and called over Meng Xiu. Meng Xiu took out a truth serum from her pocket and injected it into the chest of the survivor. Soon, the man confessed everything about the pirate gang. Our main force is stationed at Morning Dew Harbor. Our captain's name is Canute. He's the captain of the 4th Squadron of the Heavenly Dragon Pirate Gang. Hearing this, Zhang Yi turned to Bailey Chongqing. Bailey, what do you think? After pondering for a moment, Bailey Chongqing said, according to the district's intelligence, Canute is a Delta-level mutant, truly powerful, with an ability index of 8,000 points. He has 4 lieutenants, with ability indices ranging from 4000 to 6000 points, although one of them you've already taken out. Zhang Yi immediately contacted Qin Jingwan to inquire about the current situation. Through monitoring, Qin Jingwan quickly reported, about 30% of them are guarding the harbor, and 70% are looting our containers. They seem to know you're coming and are setting up an ambush using our defensive structures. Knowing the situation there, Zhang Yi already had a plan in mind. The 30% of pirates left to guard must be the elite. As long as they are dealt with, the crisis in Heavenly Sea City can be thoroughly resolved. By then, we can free up our forces to head to Coastal City to deal with the people from Eclipsed Moon. But what exactly is the strange ability of Eclipsed Moon that even Zhang Yi finds surprising? At this time, the pirates around the shelter have been cleared, and Zhang Yi is immediately preparing to rush to Morning Dew Harbor. Just then, Uncle Yu and Chun Lei came running over. Let us help you. Chun Lei also gathered his courage and solemnly said, Boss, it's been too long since we fought side by side. Take me with you this time. I can at least play a role in controlling the situation. Zhang Yi looked at them and said solemnly, I understand your feelings, but the battle is not over yet. For safety's sake, you and the people from the 3 bases should not take action for now. If there is a special situation, I will notify you in advance to provide support. After speaking, Zhang Yi took out a box of holy silver bullets and handed them to Uncle Yu, along with a sniper rifle brought from Blizzard City. Then, everyone quickly got in the car and headed for the Morning Dew base. Along the way, Bailey Chongqing began to arrange tactics. Captain, you can go to point A to take a high position, which is perfect for utilizing your long-range sniping advantage. Qi Guangming will join you, responsible for long-range firepower suppression. The harbor has a conical geography, so the rest of us can strike from both sides at the same time. Coupled with the coastline and broken ships to block, it's like catching turtles in a jar. By then, Liang Yu and I will take on the pirate leader Canute, while the others handle the cleanup of the foot soldiers. Zhang Yi listened and nodded repeatedly. Let's execute this plan. But I still want to remind everyone, safety first. Do not underestimate the opponent. To avoid startling the enemy, they chose to park the car 5 kilometers away and then proceed on foot. To avoid being detected by the enemy prematurely, Bailey Chongqing instructed Shui He to use his ability to stir up a storm, obscuring the pirates' vision. As the storm picked up, Zhang Yi and the others quickly advanced toward the harbor. However, the appearance of the storm also caught the pirates' attention. At this time, Canute was sitting on an armored vehicle, sneering. It seems the regular army from River South Domain has arrived. Everyone, prepare for battle. As soon as the words fell, this band of desperados instantly roared excitedly, raising their firearms and howling wildly. Then, they started firing wildly in the direction Zhang Yi and the others were advancing. Bailey Chongqing, at the forefront, shouted loudly, ignore the small fry, focus on the mutants first, end the battle as quickly as possible. But as he was about to continue charging forward, he was suddenly repelled back. The others, caught off guard, slammed into an invisible air wall. Zhang Yi's eyes flashed. He murmured lowly, it's their ability user acting. Let me handle this. Saying that, he raised his pistol, aimed at the transparent wall, and pulled the trigger. Bang! But to Zhang Yi's utter surprise, the holy silver bullets, which could easily dispel magic, could not penetrate this barrier. The bullet stopped in front of the wall, hovered for a moment, then fell straight to the ground. Zhang Yi could never have imagined that mere pirates would have such a powerful ability user, one that even holy silver bullets, capable of instantly killing mutants, could not penetrate. What kind of ability is this? However, what surprised everyone even more was the group of pirates excitedly rushing towards them on snowmobiles. Laughing wildly, they shouted, this trip was really worth it. Some even taunted, sell their lives to River South Domain in exchange for supplies. Wu Di sneered disdainfully, his face full of scorn. These small fry actually dare to charge at us? They really must be tired of living. Don't they know what kind of enemy they are facing? But at that moment, Zhang Yi's gaze sharpened, sensing that something was amiss. He involuntarily took a half step back, only to discover that there seemed to be a wall blocking him from behind as well. This is bad. We might have fallen into their trap. At this point, Wu Di realized they were completely surrounded by an invisible barrier, including overhead and underfoot. In other words, they were now trapped in a giant transparent cage. Meanwhile, thousands of pirates, armed with weapons, had them completely encircled. Their faces bore ferocious grins, as if they had just seen a big fish get hooked. At that moment, Canute walked out from among the crowd, smiling sardonically. Now that you're here, might as well announce your affiliations. However, Zhang Yi was not panicked at this moment. He didn't even acknowledge Canute, but instead immediately instructed his teammates to try to break through the cage. After all, in Zhang Yi's view, unless the opponent was an Epsilon-level mutant, there shouldn't exist a barrier that they couldn't break through. As soon as he finished speaking, his teammates immediately launched attacks at every corner. However, no matter how they attacked, the transparent barrier showed no change at all, like an endless sea, swallowing all their assaults. At this point, Canute shrugged helplessly, teasingly said, "These guys really have no manners. I advise you to stop wasting your efforts. Now, you're just birds in a cage." Among the pirate gang, there was a mutant named Chinsiu. His ability was called Ground as Prison. Once anyone entered his domain, Ground as Prison would be passively triggered. But to maintain this cage, the ability user himself cannot move. If he moves his body, or if the original body dies, the spell will be broken. Fire! At Canute's command, thousands of pirates laughed maniacally as they pulled their triggers. Zhang Yi instantly activated Dual Realm Severance, protecting his teammates in the nick of time. Fortunately, the enemy's bullets weren't very lethal to them, but the problem is, their attacks couldn't get out, while the enemy's attacks could come in. At this rate, they would eventually die from exhaustion of their abilities. Just then, among the pirates, a mutant leapt high and pounced towards Zhang Yi. Above their heads, the mutant raised a huge ice ball several meters in diameter, which he then smashed down towards Zhang Yi and the others. Bailey Changqing was about to step forward to block, but Zhang Yi quickly realized, if the ice ball shattered inside this space, they could likely be swallowed up by countless ice shards. Thinking this, Zhang Yi shouted, "Everyone back off. Let me handle this." With that, he quickly opened a massive dimensional gate, directly sucking the giant ice ball into an alternate space. Canute furrowed his brow, muttering to himself, "This guy, is he the one Huan talked about?" Indeed, his defensive ability is not bad, but as long as you can't get out of this cage, I will eventually wear you down. Facing the pirate gang's relentless artillery fire, Zhang Yi still calmly pondered, why can their attacks come in, but our attacks can't break through the cage? What exactly determines the boundaries? Suddenly, Zhang Yi had a brainwave and made a bold attempt. He used the portal to absorb a large amount of ammunition and reflexively sent it back. Dozens of pirates were instantly riddled with bullets. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up, and he exclaimed excitedly, "I've got it! Ground as Prison must be a rule-based ability. The rule of this ability is, once the cage is formed, defined objects cannot break through the cage, but objects that were initially inside the cage are not restricted." Seeing Zhang Yi able to bounce back bullets, Canute's expression changed dramatically, and he immediately called off the attack. But while they stopped, Zhang Yi certainly did not stop. He quietly instructed his teammates, "On my command, count to 3. Then everyone duck down." He knew that the one using the ability must be hiding among the crowd. Just eliminate him, and this cage will disappear. In an instant, 2 massive portal doors swung open. 500 cannons suddenly extended from the space. These were the heavy weapons he had swept from the Blizzard City armory. Boom! 500 high-end cannons fired simultaneously, the deafening sound of gunfire echoing through the sky. The muzzles uniformly targeted pirates in all directions, furiously unleashing firepower. The pirates were caught off guard, instantly blasted into disarray, limbs and blood mist scattering across the sky. But at that moment, Canute and the other mutants reacted. Canute's body quickly swelled, transforming into a gigantic megalodon shark that was several meters long in the blink of an eye. His massive body lay across the ground, blocking most of the cannon fire, and the cage still remained unbroken. Zhang Yi inwardly sighed. It's a pity. This kind of cannon fire can only be used once, and the cannon's ammunition needs time to reload. However, the effect of this attack was quite significant. More importantly, it confirmed his suspicion. The mutant who created the cage must have been protected by Canute. Just then, Gao Changkong suddenly sent an urgent communication. "Chaos. It's bad. Don't rush to encircle the pirates. This might be a huge trap." Zhang Yi's pupils suddenly contracted. "What do you mean?" At that moment, Gao Changkong, who was in Coastal City, spoke with a grave tone. "The people here in Coastal City are not from Eclipsed Moon at all. We've all been played. And think about it. If they're not in Coastal City, where else could they be? Who do they fear the most, yet also most want to kill?" Zhang Yi's eyes widened, his scalp tingling slightly. "The person they most want to kill, isn't it me, the one who can break prophecies?" Just then, Canute suddenly shouted towards the distance, "Damn Ronin, it's your turn to take the stage." Everyone abruptly looked up, only to see several figures slowly appearing on the distant hillside. They were the entire members of Eclipsed Moon. Was Zhang Yi about to become the prey? The sudden appearance of Eclipsed Moon shook the entire upper echelon of Blizzard City. Zhu Zhen, who had thought the situation was under control, suddenly changed color and stood up sharply from his chair. "How could this be? Our division plan was absolutely confidential. How did they find out?" Lan Xinqing immediately rushed to the intelligence team and demanded, "Why was the information leaked?" But at that moment, the head of the intelligence team, Lin Kaidai, remained calm. However, the next second, a trickle of blood slowly ran down her mouth. Then, she collapsed onto the control panel. "Lin Kaidai!" Lan Xinqing exclaimed in shock, rushing forward to check on her, his face turning extremely grim. She had a cyanide capsule in her mouth. She has committed suicide out of fear of retribution. At this moment, everyone understood. Indeed, someone inside had leaked information to Eclipsed Moon. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dragon Pirate Gang and Eclipsed Moon would never have cooperated so seamlessly. But now, Zhu Jin no longer had time to investigate the mole, because the Heavenly Dog Squad had completely fallen into the enemy's trap. Reincarnation Squad, immediately proceed to Heavenly Sea City to support. Zhu Jin gritted his teeth and spoke into the communicator with a grave voice. "Zhang Yi, try to buy some time. It will take about half an hour for the Reincarnation Squad squad to arrive. After hearing this, Zhang Yi's gaze suddenly turned ice cold. He finally realized, it seems, we have been outplayed. Touched someone's cake. It looks like someone wants me dead. Thinking this, Zhang Yi didn't hesitate to throw away his earphone. Now, he trusted no one, including Zhu Jin. He sternly told his teammates, there's a traitor from Eclipsed Moon within headquarters. If you want to survive, from now on, follow my commands only. Do not communicate with headquarters anymore. Now, no one can be trusted. The only thing reliable is our own strength. At this moment, standing on a hillock, Huan slowly spoke. Let's begin. Shinguji made the first move. He pulled out dozens of talismans from his pocket and scattered them into the air. As a spell was chanted, the talismans suddenly transformed into dozens of golden wolves, fiercely pouncing towards Zhang Yi. Although Zhang Yi did not know their abilities, he was aware that by opening an alternate space, their attacks would turn into nothingness. In an instant, all the wolves were sucked into the alternate space. However, Shinguji revealed a slight smile and slowly said, alternate dimensions, indeed powerful, but even if you can devour everything, there's a limit to how much you can hold. Just overflow it with energy beyond its limit, and the alternate space will shatter. Try this. He formed a hand seal and suddenly shouted, explode. Zhang Yi immediately sensed that the wolves that had just been absorbed into the alternate space were now exploding violently inside. These were the self-destructing magic wolves that Shinguji had specifically prepared for Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was slightly moved by the energy contained within these magic wolves. Indeed, it was terrifying. It seems his information had been completely leaked to Eclipsed Moon by a mole. All of this was a hunt aimed at him, just like the hunt that targeted Deng Shintong before. However, these magic wolves did not succeed in shattering Zhang Yi's alternate space. What? Seeing this, Shinguji incredulously stepped back a few paces. How is this possible? The explosive power of these magic wolves is equivalent to 2 tons of TNT. Even a captain-level mutant shouldn't be able to withstand that, right? Could it be the information was wrong? At this moment, Zhang Yi's gaze was sharper than ever. The anger from being betrayed made his killing intent colder, yet his mind was clearer than ever. Good thing I hit it well, he muttered, a cold smile curling at the corner of his mouth. This is my home ground. Today, I want to see who really is the hunter and who is the prey. Zhang Yi calmly picked up the communicator and quietly said one word, detonate. The next second, the ground where they stood erupted in a massive explosion. This is Morning Dew Base's territory. Zhang Yi had already ordered Chen Jingwan to bury countless traps and explosives here. A series of explosions swept across the battlefield. Looking at the devastation, Zhang Yi gave a cold laugh, his voice deep. This is Heavenly Sea City. This is my home ground. Zhang Yi's. The members of the Heavenly Dragon Pirate Gang and Eclipsed Moon were caught off guard and blasted haphazardly. However, before they could regain their footing, suddenly, a blizzard fell from the sky. Those cold snowflakes, like sharp blades, fiercely stabbed at the pirates. Instantly, a fierce wind arose, and the battlefield became completely chaotic. Owen's gaze sharpened. He murmured, something's not right. The reinforcements from Blizzard City couldn't have arrived so quickly, could they? Just then, a scout from the Heavenly Dragon Pirate Gang stumbled forward, shouting, Captain, large numbers of enemies have appeared to the northeast and northwest. Canute's face darkened, and he said coldly, all day we haven't seen a single person from Heavenly Sea City. How come suddenly there are so many enemies now? At the same time, not far away, the reinforcements from Radiant Prosperity Base and Emerald Waterside Base had already rapidly arrived at the outskirts of the battlefield. Uncle Yu and Chun Lei were also among the troops. At this moment, Xiao Honglian gave the order. The boss's command is not to get close to the battlefield. We are responsible for distracting and creating chaos at the periphery. Does everyone understand? Yes. Uncle Yu, holding a sniper rifle, took a position on a high point for long-range sniping. At that moment, Chun Lei laughed proudly. These pirates could never have guessed that we had been prepared half an hour in advance. However, he then muttered with some doubt, but can our level of disturbance really be effective? Uncle Yu also shook his head, somewhat helplessly saying, it's a pity Zhang Yi only gave us limited bullets. Can't waste them, otherwise I would have wiped them out long ago. But since Zhang Yi asked us to stay at the periphery, he must have his reasons. At this moment, Huan also noticed the anomaly. He quickly realized that these suddenly appearing enemies were not the regular army of Blizzard City, but likely just local native forces. This realization calmed him quite a bit. Canute sneered as he ordered his subordinates. They are just a bunch of small fry. They can't make any real waves. Take some men and wipe them out. The rest of you, come with me to deal with the people in the cage. However, under the cover of the blizzard, no one noticed what Zhang Yi was doing. He held his hands as if cradling a sphere, and wisps of black lightning slowly gathered in the palms of his hands. Black lightning danced wildly, electrical arcs swirling, the sphere expanding continuously. The terrifying energy caused Bailey Changqing and the others to sharply constrict their pupils. They instinctively gasped in shock, stepping back several paces. This was a terrifying power they had never seen before. Zhang Yi thought to himself, good thing I've never really exposed my true capabilities. Now, I can no longer afford to give the people of Blizzard City any chances. None of them can be trusted. The next second, Zhang Yi suddenly shouted, everyone, retreat immediately. Zhang Yi then threw the huge black sphere he had formed high into the air, while activating a 24 threefold acceleration. Immediately after, he violently hurled the sphere of void at Canute. Canute's heart surged with alarm. What is this thing? But the distance was too close. He wanted to dodge, but it was already too late. Moreover, deep down he still believed Zhang Yi couldn't possibly have the strength to kill me in one strike. Ultimately, he decided to brace himself. I don't believe I can't withstand this attack, because right behind him was Chen Xiyu, the caster of ground as prison. However, by this time, the radius of the black sphere had expanded to several hundred meters. It was emitting a terrifying power capable of destroying heaven and earth. Simultaneously, Zhang Yi roared out, "Explode!" Canute was blown away, flying kilometers away. His body was a blur of flesh and blood, bleeding profusely, barely clinging to life. Even so, Canute still roared furiously at Huan. "You fluorescent scum! How dare you deceive me? His strength is not at all what you described." Not far away, the members of Eclipsed Moon, witnessing this scene, were also greatly shocked. How is this possible? After all, the intelligence they had received indeed categorized Zhang Yi as merely deputy team level. However, with just one strike, hundreds of pirates were directly vaporized. The scene even blasted out a huge crater. This was clearly true captain level strength. The other members of the Heavenly Dog Squad all stood stunned, and nearby, he was completely dumbfounded. How ignorant was I to dare challenge Zhang Yi? The power of this strike, even Deng Shintong couldn't achieve it. Could he? This isn't some 8,200-point deputy team leader strength. However, Bailey Changqing and the members of the Black Robe Squad had long understood this. After all, months ago, in the battle at Heavenly Sea City, they had witnessed the terrifying power of an Epsilon-level mutant. Zhang Yi not only defeated Yuan Kongya, but also absorbed Yuan Kongya's essence. Therefore, no matter how strong Zhang Yi displayed his power, they were not surprised. Just then, the air wall has disappeared. Wu Di suddenly shouted in surprise. However, Zhang Yi remained calm, his gaze cold as he said, "The real battle has just begun." He slowly raised his head, staring at the figures standing on the hillock. At the same time, Huan was also staring intently at Zhang Yi. Then, Bailey Changqing said in a deep voice, "General Zhu just ordered us to hold on for half an hour until the reincarnation squad arrives." Zhang Yi gave him a sideways glance. Non-committal. He calmly said, "Huan, leave him to me. Everyone else, you handle them." Bailey Changqing immediately began to assign combat roles. Zhang Yi then walked up to Liang Yu, saying solemnly, "Liang Yu, help me hold off a main force member from Eclipsed Moon. Flower, you're in charge of protecting Xinxin. If you sense danger, you must flee immediately. There should be no mutant who can catch up to you." Liang Yu gripped Dragon's roar and nodded in response. Received. At the same time, her gaze fell on Kamamoto on the hillside, her lips curling slightly. "I found my opponent already." Whether it was the intuition of top fighters, at this moment Kamamoto was also staring at Liang Yu with a murderous look. Zhang Yi was busy deploying his troops, and Huan was not idle either. The terrifying power suddenly unleashed by Zhang Yi made Huan feel that the situation had spiraled beyond his control. He immediately said to Shinguji standing beside him, "Join me, let's take out their captain first." Shinguji pushed up his glasses, thinking to himself, Huan is unusually asking for my help. It seems he really senses danger. However, just then, Daiko Kai could no longer hold back. As a battle fanatic, he simply couldn't resist such an opponent. Upon seeing the powerful enemies among Zhang Yi's group, he disregarded Huan's orders and charged forward in a rush. "I can't hold back anymore. I'm going in first." He gripped the huge dragonfly cutter, instantly transformed into the Tide Tiger form, and in the blink of an eye, he pounced in front of Zhang Yi. He bared his ferocious teeth, staring fixedly at Zhang Yi. "Are you the strongest one? Fight me properly, old man." However, before Zhang Yi could speak, Bailey Changqing had already stepped forward, calmly saying, "How about I fight you, Ronin?" Daiko Kai paused slightly, his gaze slowly shifting to Bailey Changqing. Among masters, the strength of an opponent can be sensed merely through their presence. He felt a familiar aura emanating from Bailey Changqing. They are mutants who pursue the ultimate in strength. Interesting. Daiko Kai wasted no time, suddenly raising the dragonfly cutter and slashing down fiercely. Bailey Changqing's halberd blocked the strike with astonishing speed. The clash of the blade and halberd erupted with a thunderous noise. Daiko Kai's all-out strike was actually blocked outright by Bailey Changqing. Boom! The powerful impact created a huge crater right beneath his feet. However, Bailey Changqing seemed to be unfazed. At this moment, he even took the opportunity to taunt Daiko Kai. With a slight smile on his lips, he calmly said, "Your strength is just SOSO. I thought it would be more impressive." As soon as the words fell, Bailey Changqing flicked his wrist and sent Daiko Kai flying several meters. However, at this moment, Daiko Kai was not angry but delighted. "Ha! I have finally found an opponent who can confront me in strength head-on." Wu Di, standing by with a confident expression, whispered, "Uncle Bailey's title is not for nothing. When it comes to arm strength, he's never lost, not even to captains." After one round, both parties realized that this was not the ideal battlefield. Thus, Daiko Kai suddenly leaped up, bounding towards the distance. At the same time, he looked back at Bailey Changqing, flashing a provocative look. "Come on." Bailey Changqing understood the challenge. He knew this was a call to battle. However, as the main combatant of the Heavenly Dog Squad, he still needed his captain's permission permission to leave the group. He looked towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi silently nodded his approval. After all, the only person present who could match Daiko Kai was Bailey Chongqing. With Zhang Yi's consent, Bailey Chongqing did not hesitate, grabbed his halberd in reverse, and chased after him fiercely. Simultaneously, seeing this, Kamemoto no longer waited. He flashed and leaped to face Liang Yu. Liang Yu had been waiting for a long time. She looked towards Zhang Yi, quietly awaiting his command. Zhang Yi's gaze was stern. He nodded slightly and whispered, "Win at all costs." Liang Yu gripped Dragon's Roar tightly, her eyes sharp as blades. Received. She and Kamemoto stood facing each other, their eyes meeting, their fighting spirit high. The two reached a tacit agreement. They decided to engage in a true one-on-one duel as warriors. They did not want anyone to interfere with this fated battle. So, almost simultaneously, the two quickly ran towards the distant snowy plains. Just then, Zhang Yi suddenly shouted, "Everyone, spread out." However, just as this command was being carried out, the gravity of the battlefield was suddenly increased tenfold. At the same time, Eclipsed Moon's heavy gunner, Akira Kurosawa, hoisted up a huge hand cannon, aimed directly at Zhang Yi, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The cannonball whistled towards him, yet Zhang Yi remained unmoved. He instantly opened a spatial gate in front of him, absorbing all the energy. Simultaneously, Shinguji was also not idle. He took out dozens of talismans again and quickly recited a spell. Spell release. The talismans instantly transformed into dozens of demonic wolves, charging furiously towards Zhang Yi. These were the self-destructing demonic wolves specifically crafted for Zhang Yi, because the mole within River South Domain had provided them with a crucial piece of information. Zhang Yi's alternate space has a capacity limit. By overloading the internal energy of the alternate space, it could be completely burst, causing it to collapse. This is a surefire strategy. In their view, as long as they could disable Zhang Yi's alternate space ability, they could easily kill him. However, he could never have imagined Zhang Yi's alternate space was no longer what it used to be. Zhang Yi didn't hesitate to absorb all the demonic wolves into his alternate space, letting them explode wildly within. It seems your information still lacks a little something, and that is, I can reflect all physical attacks and explosions. Are they not also a form of physical attack? Here you go. At this moment, the energy of the self-destructing demonic wolves originally absorbed by Zhang Yi's alternate space finally found an outlet. Transforming into a massive energy beam, it blasted towards the mountain peak. Shinguji's face drastically changed as he screamed in horror. This is the energy of more than 500 tons of TNT. At the critical moment, Huan stood out. The phoenix blood within him instantly burned to its limit. Behind him, a gigantic three-headed phoenix apparition rose into the sky. The power of this strike was in no way inferior to Zhang Yi's void spear. Huan, at the risk of his flesh, took the hit head-on. A thunderous explosion sounded, nearly shattering Huan's body. However, with the power of immortality, his body quickly restored to its original state. But at this moment, his expression was incredibly grim. They completely underestimated Zhang Yi's abilities. They originally thought that Zhang Yi's alternate space was like a water tank, that just continuously injecting energy would eventually cause it to burst. But now, they realized, his alternate space is actually a spring. Unless you inject energy exceeding its limit in one go, causing the spring to lose its rebound characteristic. Otherwise, any attack will be bounced back exactly as it came. Shinguji broke out in a cold sweat, unable to help but hold his forehead and sigh. Is this the #1 in defense spoken of in legends? This is going to be tough. Huan took a deep breath, his voice grave. Only I can handle this guy. You all deal with the others. Sure, Jugo. Your task is to protect Mayumi. Sure, Jugo nodded, his gaze resolute. Don't worry, boss. Even if it costs me my life, I will protect Miss Mayumi. The next second, Huan suddenly made his move. His right arm's veins bulged instantly, clearly visible. The next second, the drops of blood bursting from his fingertips transformed into a stunning column of blood flames shooting into the sky. Dozens of fire crows suddenly transformed, swooping down on Zhang Yi from all directions. Although Zhang Yi had some understanding of Huan from the intelligence passed back by Deng Shintong, the information was not comprehensive. Faced with this attack, he could only quickly open the double gates to distance himself from the scene. However, the fire crows caught up in an instant. It seems that unless I completely destroy them, they will keep chasing me. Zhang Yi thought quickly, pulling out his dual guns and loading them with holy silver bullets, then abruptly raising his hands. The holy silver bullets indeed could counteract the fire crows. The fire crows hit by the bullets instantly vanished into nothingness in the air, completely dissipating. However, just as he was reloading, 3 fire crows were already within striking distance. Zhang Yi, having no other choice, had to open the dimensional gate and forcibly suck them into the alternate space. However, the fire crows that just entered the alternate space immediately exploded. The next second, an intense feeling of discomfort emerged in Zhang Yi's heart. He distinctly sensed that his alternate space was being eroded. Is this some kind of ability toxin? What's more troublesome is that he was unable to expel it. Fortunately, his alternate space had a sufficiently large capacity, and merely 3 fire crows were not enough to completely destroy it. But if I continue to absorb, I fear my alternate space might really be ruined. Zhang Yi's gaze sharpened as he instantly understood understood everything. So it was these fire crows that killed Deng Shintong. If Deng Shintong had also been hit by this move, even with his strength, he couldn't have escaped. Fortunately, Zhang Yi had already obtained the same top-tier combat suit as Deng Shintong from Deng Yuanbo. This suit grants him the ability to fly for short periods. Combined with dual realm severance, he can create an absolutely safe long-range sniping vantage point. The next second, Zhang Yi didn't hesitate to activate the flight function, shooting up into the sky. Huan was puzzled about why Zhang Yi flew so high. He looked up at Zhang Yi in the sky, then flashed a sinister smile, turning his gaze to the members of the Heavenly Dog Squad, and coldly said, "If you don't come down, I'll start killing your beloved teammates." However, Zhang Yi, from his high vantage point, soon spotted Mayumi's hiding place on the hillside. Without hesitation, he pulled out his sniper rifle and laughed loudly. "Ronin, your priestess, is about to get a headshot from me." Huan was horrified. This is bad. If Mayumi really gets killed by Zhang Yi, without her blood empowerment, his combat power would drop by 30%. Then, any captain-level fighter could easily defeat him. Huan was caught in a dilemma. If I go save Mayumi now, I'll lose the perfect opportunity to annihilate the Heavenly Dog Squad. But if I don't go to save her, once Mayumi dies, my combat power will drastically decrease. What should I choose? He hesitated for just a second. Huan finally made a decision. Just then, Shinguji suddenly leaped to his side, shouting loudly, "Hurry, get on my Azure Bird, and let's take down Zhang Yi together." Huan, without any hesitation, jumped onto the back of the Azure Bird. Simultaneously, the blood blossoms spurting from his fingertips once again transformed into dozens of fire crows, rushing straight for Zhang Yi. Given that, Zhang Yi, with a cold gaze, didn't hesitate to pull the trigger. 20-fold speed precision shooting activated. A loud bang, the roar of the large-caliber sniper rifle, thundered across the battlefield like an explosion. At the same time, Shi Zhugo maneuvered his puppets to shield Mayumi. These puppets, all of whom had their consciousness wiped clean, were living dead, but in life, they were mutants of notable strength, with extremely strong defensive capabilities. Yet, a single bullet pierced through 6 puppets. Shi Zhugo's face drastically changed, his heart pounding. The power of this bullet is astounding. If this shot hits Mayumi, she's undoubtedly dead. However, just as Zhang Yi was aiming and about to fire, dozens of fire crows had already rushed into Zhang Yi's alternate space. The toxic disintegration of the fire crows was rapidly eroding his alternate space. Yet, Zhang Yi's expression remained cool. I anticipated this. Now, his control over the space had significantly improved, having already been able to divide his alternate space into different areas. Now, his alternate space had been divided into 10,000 parts. Just taking out one part, specifically to withstand Huan's ability toxin, was enough. Zhang Yi calmly began to reload his weapon. At this moment, Shi Zhugo was completely panicked. If Zhang Yi fires another shot, Mayumi will undoubtedly die. He immediately shouted in horror, "Leader!" Huan's expression drastically changed. He had originally planned to rush over and completely incinerate Zhang Yi with hellfire, but he has the ability to foresee the future for 5 seconds. At this moment, he had already seen the future where Mayumi dies. Damn it. However, he had also seen the trajectory of the bullet. In a critical moment, Huan did not hesitate, choosing to stand in the path of the bullet. The bullet instantly pierced through his chest, creating a bloody cavity. However, to this, Zhang Yi showed no surprise. Instead, his lips curled into a slight smile, proudly shouting, "I can't control you, but can I not control your weak spot?" Huan gave a cold smile, his face grim. However, just as he was about to speak, he suddenly began to cough violently, his body staggering. Huan's head suddenly felt dizzy. Not good. He immediately realized that he had been tricked. Without hesitation, he punched himself in the temple. As the crimson flames burned, his body was reborn. Zhang Yi thought to himself, "What a pity. I had planned to use the anesthetic coated on the bullet to anesthetize him and then seal him away. I didn't expect him to be so alert, choosing to kill himself. It seems you really care about that priestess." Just then, Shinguji suddenly shouted, "His offensive power is not very strong. I will block his attacks. You find a way to kill him." As the words fell, Shinguji leaped to Mayumi's side. He summoned 10 Shikigami at once, reaching his limit. One of the azure birds he gave to Huan. The remaining 9 transformed into giant apes, forming a protective circle around Mayumi. Huan finally unleashed his killing move. He suddenly bit into his own wrist, and scalding blood gushed out. The blood transformed into a sky full of burning flame crows. Countless burning flocks of crows, emitting ominous cries, swept towards Zhang Yi like a tidal wave of fire. However, Zhang Yi just gave a cold smile. Divine power activate. Instantly, within Zhang Yi's dual realm severance, the space violently twisted. The next second, the space hundreds of meters ahead was completely cleared. The 3,000 flame crows were instantly shattered. Huan possesses the Phoenix's immortality ability. Zhang Yi controls a nearly perfect defensive ability. Their clash was like a mad collision between 2 shield bearers. Neither could overcome the other. However, Zhang Yi's lips curled slightly. He had finally found Huan's weakness. That is Mayumi. Now, under Shinguji's close protection, Zhang Yi seems temporarily unable to take her down. The battle has reached a delicate balance. However, Zhang Yi, with his own strength, is holding back 2 of Eclipsed Moon's major forces. As long as the reincarnation squad squad's support arrives. Eclipsed Moon will undoubtedly be defeated, but will the reincarnation squad really come to support? Meanwhile, the battle on the ground is becoming increasingly fierce. Bailey Changqing's expression turned cold. He reached back and took out a pill, throwing it directly into his mouth. The moment compound number 5 entered his body, a suffocating aura of battle readiness explosively burst forth from within Bailey Changqing. Very quickly, he completely dominated the fight. Daiko Kai even had several teeth knocked out by Bailey Changqing. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he roared, "You're doping? That's not fair." Daiko Kai was once a sumo wrestler. In his view, doping is an extremely shameful act. However, what really enraged him was not the so-called fairness, but the fact that he himself did not have similar drugs to enhance his combat abilities. Bailey Changqing looked at him coldly, his voice low and icy. "This is a battlefield. I am a soldier. A soldier's mission is to fight to the death. I live, you die. That is fairness." Bailey Changqing pressed his advantage. He suddenly swung his halberd, slashing fiercely at Daiko Kai. Clang! Daiko Kai barely managed to block with his dragonfly cutter, but the immense force of the impact still sent him flying tens of meters. He awkwardly stabilized his form, his body trembling violently. This was the first time he was at a complete disadvantage in a contest of strength, and Bailey Changqing had switched to the halberd specifically to overpower the dragonfly cutter. However, despite being overwhelmingly suppressed by Bailey Changqing, Daiko Kai's tough defenses meant that Bailey Changqing still could not quickly finish him off. He was well aware, once the effects of compound number 5 were off, I will enter a state of great weakness, so I must end this battle quickly. Meanwhile, on another front, the allied forces of Heavenly Sea City successfully took control of a strategic high point. Xiao Honglian decisively ordered, "If we can't break through the front line, then help Zhang Yi by clearing out these peripherals." Xing Tian, with a thrilled smile, "I was thinking the same." As soon as the words fell, he activated the Xing Tian Legion ability, enhancing hundreds of soldiers in one go. Uncle Yu, armed to the teeth. Chun Lei, using the Blizzard ability, disrupted the enemy's line of sight. With the coordinated efforts of the Heavenly Sea City allied forces, the remnants of the Heavenly Dragon pirate gang were instantly routed. Before long, the enemy was completely annihilated. Now, the only one still alive is the severely injured Canute. At this moment, Zhang Yi in the sky, overlooking the entire battlefield, suddenly had a wild idea. His gaze primarily fell on Daiko Kai, Kamamoto, and Canute. "I can't quickly kill them on the front line, but what if I take them by surprise with a sniper shot? Maybe I could kill them instantly." However, just then, Huan also saw through Zhang Yi's intentions. He flashed a sinister smile and said menacingly, "You think you're the only one who can ambush? I want to see whether your bullets kill them first, or if I kill your 2 women first." Zhang Yi, with a slight smile, feigned composure and said, "They're just 2 subordinates after all. You want to kill them? Go ahead. But aren't you protecting that priestess of yours?" Hearing this, Huan's smile instantly froze. "You think you can get past Chinguji?" In Zhang Yi's mind, a bold and risky plan is slowly taking shape, but he is not one to take risks lightly. "So, I am still waiting for the right moment." At the same time, at the other end of the ground battlefield, the life or death duel between 2 top warriors has also entered a fierce stage. Almost simultaneously, both chose to strike with their blades. Kamamoto's left arm is cleanly severed, yet he shows no expression, his right hand steadily picking up the katana. In his eyes, there wasn't a trace of pain. Instead, there was a look of excitement as he murmured softly, "All the masters of country Hua martial arts I've met before were nothing but frauds. Meeting you today is truly my good fortune." However, Liang Yu gave a cold smile, her gaze sharp as ever. "Meeting me is not your good fortune. It's your disaster. Today is the day you die." Once again, the 2 charged at each other with their swords. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, Wu Di and Yi He led the Heavenly Dog Squad in a full-force purge of the remnants of the Heavenly Dragon pirate gang. Yang Xinshin, riding Flower, also joined the fight. Yang Xinshin used her ability in actual combat for the first time. Behind her, the angelic phantom suddenly drew a bow and arrow. At the same time, Canute appeared. He suddenly opened his massive jaws, lunging straight at Lu Winghao. In one bite, he swallowed Lu Winghao whole. However, Yang Xinshin's arrow had already been released. The long arrow tore through the air, shooting straight at Canute. The arrow struck its mark. However, Canute suddenly laughed. He pulled out the arrow, full of disdain, sneering coldly. "A mere arrow, and you think it can hurt me? Unless you have vice captain level attack power." But before he could finish mocking the Heavenly Dog Squad, suddenly, Canute's expression changed drastically. The next second, he violently opened his mouth and spat Lu Winghao out. Lu Winghao, covered in mucus, drenched and disheveled, looked like a mess. However, he grinned mischievously at Canute and said mockingly, "My entire body is poisonous, and you actually dared to eat me?" Woody's eyes lit up as he shouted, "Lu Winghao, hurry, use your poison on all of us. That way, we won't have to worry about getting swallowed." However, Canute scoffed at this, full of disdain. "You think I can't swallow you? Then I'll just crush you with my body."